Welcome to our channel. Learning English with Bible stories helps your child grow twice as much in understanding and wisdom. Listen to these stories as many times as needed for understanding and learning. Adults can use them too. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any lessons. The Tower of Babel, Genesis 11. Chapter 1, The Big Idea. A long, long time ago, everyone on earth spoke the same language. They could all understand each other very well. People lived together in one big place, and they worked together happily. They shared ideas, talked about their dreams, and planned great things together. One day, the people had a big idea. They gathered in a large group and started talking about their plan. "Let's build a city with a tall tower that reaches up to the sky," one person said. "Yes, let's do it," said another. "It will make us famous, and everyone will know who we are," another person added. "We won't have to be scattered all over the earth, we can stay together," said yet another. Everyone agreed it was a fantastic plan. They were excited and eager to start. They believed that by building this huge tower, they would become very important and powerful. The thought of being known all over the world made them feel proud and strong. They began to make a plan. They decided where they would build the city and the tower. They talked about how they would make the bricks and what materials they would need. They planned how many people would work each day and how they would stack the bricks to make the tower strong and tall. The people were full of energy and excitement. They were ready to start their big project. They worked together, and each person had a job to do. Some people made bricks out of clay and baked them until they were hard. Others carried the bricks to the building site. There were also people who mixed a special kind of sticky mud to hold the bricks together. As they worked, they talked and laughed. They were happy to be working on something so grand and important. They believed that their tower would reach the heavens, and they would become very famous. They thought their tower would show everyone how clever and strong they were. The people were very proud of their plan. They felt like they could do anything together. They were sure that their tower would be the tallest and greatest tower ever built. They couldn't wait to see it finished and to show it to the whole world. And so, they worked and worked, ready to build their way to the sky. Chapter 2, Building the Tower. The people were very excited about their plan to build a tall tower that would reach the sky. Every morning, they woke up early, ready to work hard on their big project. The city was buzzing with energy and activity. Everyone had a job to do, and they all worked together like a big, happy team. First, they started by making lots and lots of bricks. They mixed the clay with water and shaped it into squares. Then, they put the bricks in big ovens to bake until they were hard and strong. The people made so many bricks that there were piles of them everywhere. Next, they began to stack the bricks, one on top of the other. They used a special sticky mud to hold the bricks together. This mud was like glue and made the tower strong. The people climbed up and down ladders, carrying the heavy bricks to build the tower higher and higher. Every day, the tower grew taller. It was an amazing sight. The people were so proud of their work. They could see the tower from far away, and it made them feel very important. They thought, "Look how great we are. Our tower is reaching up to the sky." As they worked, they talked about their dreams and hopes. "When the tower is finished, everyone will know about us," said one worker. "Yes," said another, "we will be famous, and no one will forget us." They believed that their tower would make them the most important people in the world. Families came to watch the building. Children pointed and laughed, amazed at how high the tower was growing. Mothers and fathers told their children, "One day, you will tell your children about this great tower we built." The city was full of joy and excitement. The workers were very busy. Some mixed the mud, others carried the bricks, and some stacked them high. They all had a job to do, and they did it with all their heart. They were determined to finish the tower and show everyone their amazing creation. But as the tower grew taller, the people began to change. They started to forget about being kind and working together. They only thought about how great and famous they would be. They didn't realize that their pride was making them forget what was really important. The tower reached higher and higher into the sky. It seemed like nothing could stop the people from reaching their goal. They were sure that their tower would touch the heavens, and that they would be remembered forever. And so, they kept building, stacking brick after brick, reaching for the sky, unaware that something big was about to happen that would change everything. Chapter 3: God Sees the Tower. High up in the heavens, God was watching everything that was happening on earth. He could see the people working hard on their big tower, and he knew all about their plan. God saw how tall the tower was getting and how busy the people were. He listened to their conversations and understood what was in their hearts. God knew that the people were building the tower for the wrong reasons. They were doing it to make themselves famous and to show how powerful they were. They wanted everyone to know about their great achievement. But they had forgotten something very important: to be humble and kind. The people were so focused on their tower that they didn't think about helping one another or being thankful for what they had. They believed that their tower would make them as great as God, and that made them proud. God saw that their pride was leading them in the wrong direction. God loves all his children and wants them to do good things. He wants them to be humble, to work together, and to care for each other. Seeing the people so full of pride made God sad because he knew they were making a mistake. He knew they needed to learn an important lesson. So, God decided to come down and see the city and the tower for himself. He walked among the people and saw how busy they were, building and talking about their great plan. He saw how proud they were of their tall tower and how they dreamed of becoming famous. God knew that if the people continued to build the tower, their pride would grow even more. They would forget about being humble and kind. They would think they didn't need God anymore. This was not what God wanted for his children. He wanted them to remember that they needed him and each other. God thought about the best way to teach the people this important lesson. He wanted them to understand that being humble and working together were more important than building a tall tower. He wanted them to remember that they were all part of his big family and that they needed to care for one another. So, God came up with a plan. He decided to confuse the people's language so they couldn't understand each other anymore. This way, they would have to stop building the tower and learn to rely on him and on one another again. God knew that this lesson would help the people grow and become better. He knew that by confusing their language, he was giving them a chance to remember what was truly important: love, humility, and working together as one family under God. And so, God prepared to put his plan into action, ready to teach the people the lesson they needed to learn. Chapter 4: Confusing the Languages. God saw that the people needed to learn a very important lesson about humility and working together. He decided to confuse their language so they would no longer understand each other. This would help them remember that they needed to be humble and rely on him. One morning, as the people were busy working on the tower, something strange happened. As they tried to talk to each other, their words sounded different. One person asked for a brick, but his friend heard something that sounded like gibberish. Another person asked for more mud, but no one understood what she was saying. The workers became very confused. "Hand me that brick," one worker said, but his friend just looked at him with a puzzled expression. "What did you say?" he asked, but his words didn't make any sense to the first worker. They tried to talk to each other, but it was no use. Their words were all mixed up, and no one could understand anyone else. The people began to get frustrated. They waved their arms and pointed, trying to show what they meant, but it didn't help. The once busy and happy building site was now full of confusion and noise. People were talking, but no one understood. It was a big, noisy mess. The workers couldn't keep building the tower. They couldn't understand each other to work together. The special mud wasn't being mixed, the bricks weren't being carried, and the tower wasn't getting any taller. The people's great plan came to a sudden stop. As the confusion grew, the people started to form smaller groups. Each group spoke a language that only they could understand. They began to move away from the tower, searching for places where they could live and work together without so much confusion. Families and friends who spoke the same language stayed together. They packed their things and traveled to different parts of the world. They found new places to live where they could understand each other. They built new homes and started new lives, far away from the tall, unfinished tower. The once united group of people who had worked so hard together was now spread out across the earth. They took their new languages with them, creating many different languages and cultures. The great tower, which was supposed to reach the heavens, stood incomplete and silent. God's plan had worked. The people could no longer rely on their own strength and pride. They had to remember what was truly important: being humble, working together, and trusting in God. The confusion of their languages helped them see that they needed each other and needed to stay humble. The people learned that they couldn't reach the heavens by building a tall tower. Instead, they needed to look to God and remember His teachings. They needed to work together, love one another, and be thankful for the gifts God had given them. And so, with their new languages and new homes, the people started fresh, with a new understanding of what it meant to be part of God's big family. Chapter 5: Scattering Around the World. With their languages now confused, the people could no longer continue building their tall tower. They realized that they couldn't understand each other anymore, so they stopped their work and started to gather in smaller groups. Each group spoke the same language, and they decided to move to different parts of the world where they could live and work together more easily. Families and friends packed their belongings and began their journeys. They traveled far and wide, finding new places to call home. Some went to the mountains, others to the valleys, some to the forests, and others to the shores of the seas. Everywhere they went, they took their new languages with them, creating many different communities around the world. As the people settled into their new homes, they built new cities and villages. They planted crops, raised animals, and made homes for their families. They shared stories, sang songs, and taught their children about the world. Each group developed its own customs and traditions, and the earth became full of many different cultures and languages. Even though they were spread out and spoke different languages, the people remembered the lesson they had learned from the Tower of Babel. They understood the importance of being humble, working together, and relying on God. They knew that their strength came from helping one another and living in harmony. In their new homes, the people began to thrive. They discovered new ways to build, to farm, and to create. They learned from the land and from each other. Each new language brought with it new ideas and new ways of seeing the world. The diversity of languages and cultures enriched their lives and made the world a more vibrant place. Children grew up hearing the story of the Tower of Babel. Their parents told them how their ancestors had tried to build a tower to the sky, but God had taught them an important lesson about humility and unity. The story reminded them to always be kind, to help each other, and to remember that they were all part of God's big family. The people also remembered the importance of looking to God for guidance. They prayed, gave thanks, and trusted in His wisdom. They knew that true greatness came not from building tall towers, but from living lives full of love, kindness, and faith. Over time, the memory of the unfinished tower became a symbol of the lesson learned. It stood as a reminder of the importance of humility and the dangers of pride. The people understood that while they could achieve great things, they must always remember to be humble and to rely on God and each other. And so, the story of the Tower of Babel became a cherished part of their heritage, passed down from generation to generation. It taught them to value their differences, to celebrate their unique languages and cultures, and to work together in harmony. In the end, the scattering of the people across the earth brought about a beautiful diversity that made the world a richer and more wonderful place. They had learned to live in peace, to appreciate their differences, and to always stay connected to God's love and wisdom. Story conclusion. What a great story! The Tower of Babel teaches us to work together, be humble, and remember that we are all part of God's big family. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more Bible stories. Call to action. Download the audio and listen to it every day. It will help you understand and learn English with Bible stories. This is great for children and adults. Thank you for listening. See you next time.